Life on the Mayflower by Jessica Gunderson. On a windy September day in 1620, a ship called the Mayflower set sail from the coast of England. On board, families huddled together. Children peered around their parents for a last look at the land they were leaving behind. Then, excitingly, they turned their faces to the sea. Ahead was a new life, a new land, America. The Mayflower usually carried goods such as wine and cloth, but on this journey, passengers were her cargo. The Mayflower carried 102 passengers and about 25 crew members. It also held 2 dogs, some goats, chicken, and other animals. Many of the passengers were separatists, members of a religious group that had split from the Church of England. In the early 1600s, English law said that everyone had to follow the Church of England. Many separatists, later called pilgrims, moved to the Netherlands where they could worship freely. The pilgrims had been living in the Netherlands for 12 years, but they longed for their own community. They decided to start a colony in America. The first week at sea, the weather was calm and warm. The children ran above deck, but soon autumn winds began to blow, tossing the Mayflower around. The passengers were not used to the sea rolling beneath them. Many got sick and had to stay on the lower deck. Some of the crew made fun of the passengers' seasickness. The lower deck became the passengers' home away from home. Animals rode there too. It was dark and damp. The ceiling was so low that many adults could not stand up straight. There were no windows, and lanterns supplied the only light. In the cramped space, children had no room to run. To pass the time, they probably sang or read the Bible. They may have played board games such as Nine Men's Morris, which is like checkers. With no way to keep their food cold on the ship, passengers had to bring food that wouldn't spoil. They ate salted meat, dried peas, hard biscuits, cheese, and oatmeal. With few places on board to cook, passengers made large kettles of stew for everyone to share. There was no bathroom on the Mayflower. People used small pots and emptied them into the ocean. There also wasn't much water for washing. The lower deck and the cargo hold below stank, and the air grew more sour with each passing day. Out in the Atlantic Ocean, storms could be so strong and loud it seemed like the ship would break apart. One night, terrible winds cracked a wooden beam that supported the ship's frame. Without it, the ship could not sail. Everyone worried the ship would have to return to England. Even some crew members thought the Mayflower was doomed. Luckily, one of the passengers had a large iron screw to hold the beam in place. Once fixed, the ship sailed on. Another storm threatened the life of a passenger named John Howland. John was above deck when the storm broke. Without warning, strong winds and rain swept him into the ocean. He called for help. No one on board knew what to do. Then, when all hope seemed lost, John grabbed one of the ship's ropes. Several crew members pulled him back onto the ship. He was wet and cold, but he was safe. On November 9th, after 65 days at sea, the Mayflower crew spotted land. But the journey wasn't over yet. The Mayflower anchored in Cape Cod, while a small group explored the coast. Native Americans, called the Wampanoag, were already living there. Unsure of one another, the Wampanoag and the Pilgrims kept their distance. The Pilgrims learned of an empty village nearby called Pawtuckets. There they started building their houses. They worked on them by day and slept on the ship at night. The Pilgrims renamed the village Plymouth. Finally, after almost 3 months, there were enough homes for everyone. On April 5th, the Mayflower set sail for England, and a new life began in America for her former passengers. Timeline of key dates. On June 1619, the Pilgrims gained permission from the Virginia Company to set up a colony. September 6, 1620, the Mayflower set sail from Plymouth to England. November 9th, 1620, land is sighted. November 11th, 1620, the Mayflower anchors in Cape Cod. The men sign the Mayflower Compact, an agreement between the passengers to set up a new community. December 20th, 1620, the Pilgrims settled in Pawtuckets and renamed it Plymouth. The Wampanoag had lived there until a few years before, when sickness destroyed most of the village. December 23rd, 1620, the Pilgrims began building. March 16th, 1621, an Abenaki Native American from Maine named Samoset walks into the village. He welcomes the settlers in English. He had learned to speak it from traders he'd met. March 22nd, 1621, the Pilgrims sign a peace treaty with the Masonati, a leader of the Wampanoag people. The Wampanoag had lived in the area for thousands of years. April 5th, 1621, the Mayflower returns to England with the crew. Strange but true. On the Mayflower, everyone drank beer, even the children. Water was not considered safe to drink. One baby was born on the journey. The baby was named Oceanus. Not all Mayflower passengers were separatists. Some were moving to America to better their lives, not for religious freedom. They were later known as strangers. The English the Mayflower passengers spoke was a bit different than today's English. Instead of saying, "How are you?" a passenger may have said, "Good day," or "What cheer?" Instead of saying goodbye, he or she may have said, "Fare thee well." Thanks for listening.